Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to start doing some linking and the incorporation of some images into our website. To start, I want us to create the 4 other required pages for our website. And those are the about the library, the resources, the contact page, and the about the developer page. And you'll do that the same way we created this first page. Now I'm going to do like in a baking show and magically say that this has already been done for me. So I already have all these created, but they don't have very much content in them right now. I just wanted them because once we start linking stuff together, we need something to link to. And we'll do some linking to the different pages on the website, and we'll do some linking to external sites as well. So we need these pages connected or existing so that we can link to them. I'll go ahead and open our library website from the last time right here. So what I'm thinking for right now, and again, a lot of this will change as we incorporate new style elements to make things look nicer. But what we're going to do for right now, I think, is put a little banner right here of links to all 5 pages on the website. Like you'd see, you have the home button and then a button for each of the 4 other web pages. And so we want to insert that right below this welcome to the Brady Memorial Library, which is right here, where this page break is before we get to this H3 heading. I'm going to insert another break here. Again, all this spacing is, a lot of times people don't put the extra space in here. I just like it because it makes things less cluttered in my mind, at least. So that's why I am doing that, but you certainly don't have to add that extra space if you don't want to. Let's go ahead and save this so I can update. You see the space got a little bit bigger there. Okay. So to add a hyperlink to our website, we use the tag href equals, and then we'll put our link information. Now I want to explain briefly what href means, because a lot of these are pretty intuitive, but that one doesn't seem intuitive. What href stands for is anchor, like it's connected to something external that is anchored onto this website through the link. Hyperlink, which is what a link is called, a hyperlink, and ref. And ref is reference for, and this is the reference, what we're typing here. So we are anchoring a hyperlink with a reference that will lead the person who clicks that hyperlink to whatever we put here in quotation marks. And so let's go ahead and first link to the home page. Even though we're already on the home page, we're going to link to the home page. And so we know that the home page is library space website.html, library space website. You could have saved this without the space between that website, and then of course you wouldn't include that space there, but it works either way. And then make sure you close that quotation mark. Again, that's just like with the tags where it's really easy to overlook the quotation marks, and that messes everything up. And then make sure you have the close. And the close, you just close the anchor. You don't have to add the href. You just close that anchor to it. And then in between, you're going to put the text that actually becomes the hyperlink. You know, what is going to say on there that you click on to go to the other page. And you want to make sure that this is very descriptive to make sure that people know what they're clicking on, of course. And so, you know, homepage is pretty descriptive in that case. And so we'll say homepage, we'll save, and there's our homepage. Now, when you look at this, you might say, well, there's a lot of space here. So maybe you actually want to delete that page break and have that moved up a little bit. So you can do that as well. Now, to create spaces between different elements, you don't want to use a break necessarily if you want to create a banner here. So what you can do instead is use a non-breaking space character. A non-spacing break character looks like this. You're going to use the @ sign. You're going to use NBSP and a semicolon. And that's going to create a space to the side, a small space to the side, to create spacing between our links here. We're then going to add a new href, and we're going to start adding our other web pages. And so we can actually pull up our list to make sure we're spelling everything correctly here. We have about the library.html. And don't forget the quotation marks. And we can call this about the library. And I see I left out the Y. So we'll add that in. And we can add the NBSP, add another space, ahref equals, what do we want next? Let's do the resources. Everything, make sure you check your spelling in all cases and make sure you keep that HTML added as well. Just call that resources, or maybe call that library resources to be more descriptive. Always want to be as descriptive as possible for what people might be clicking on. Ahref, let's do the contact page. We'll say contact us. That's where we're going to include our form for people to contact us a little later on in the course. One more time, let's do href equals about the developer. See how easy it is to overlook when you're typing a lot of stuff out quickly, and that can mess everything up. So you always got to look out for that element as well. Save that. Let's see what that looks like on our site now. See, there's spacing. You can see here. Okay, I had an extra space there, maybe on all of them. Does that look any better? That looks a little better. So you have all these links now, and this will work here as long as all of these files are saved in this same main folder here. All you have to do is put the name of the page in .html, as long as they're saved here. If they were saved in a subfolder, say you created a subfolder for resources pages, you need to include the folder directory name as well. So I'll show you that in a second with images. But for instance, if the about the library page, this was actually saved in a folder called about, then you need to include about / about the library. So it knows you have to go, it starts here. So it knows to go here, but then you need to tell it, you actually have to go inside of this folder here and then look for that HTML. We don't have to worry about that here. So what I'd like you to do is first write out this code like this, and then copy it for all of your web pages. So then you can navigate around your web pages. And again, through the magic of pre-planning, I've already done that myself, so I can navigate between all my pages. There's not much content on them right now, but I can navigate all around, see all the different web pages. Now, one thing I wanted to touch on that I didn't get to last time before I move on to images was the comment. As your website starts to get more and more content in it, you're going to want to add comments to specify what is going on in the web page, what each part is for. And so to do that, you're going to open sign. I guess that would be the less than sign, exclamation point, dash, dash. Then you can type your comment. This is the link banner, and then dash close sign. That's how you write a comment. That'll be helpful for when you come back through to ensure that you know what these different elements are for. So you're going to want to include that here. You can include, this is the library about, you can include here above this. All right, let me do that. This is the list of hours of operation. That'll just help you when you return to know this is what this particular element does. And like I said, when you update that, because it's a comment, it doesn't show up on here. Just like when we did with the header up here, this doesn't show up on there, but it's just helpful organizational tool for us. Okay, let's add some images. Actually, what I'm thinking for this home page here is right below these links, you could add a collage kind of 4 different images. And so I went ahead and got some images from the internet. I downloaded, and they're probably not copyright free, but we're just using them for an example, so it's fine. 4 images, just saved them library 1, library 2, library 3, library 4, and they're saved as JPEG files. And it's important to note what type of file you saved them as before you try to add them to your web page. So let's go ahead and try to add a collage 2 by 2. So there'll be 2 rows and 2 columns to make 4 images. We're going to add that below here. So we're going to keep this break. We're going to add another break here. And this is where we're going to insert our collage. Oops. Library image collage. How do you spell collage? Well, it is now. Okay, so here's where we'll add our images. What we're going to do is we're going to add 2 images to the top. Then we're going to add a small break. And then we're going to add the 2 images to the bottom. And we'll see what that looks like. So the image tag is a little bit more, it's very similar to the href, but a little more intuitive what you say, I guess, what you type out. Image source is the shorthand. And then you're going to put in parentheses or in quotation marks, just like you did with the website, the location of the image. Now, as I mentioned before, the images are actually saved in a subfolder, this images folder. So in order to retrieve the images properly, you have to add the images folder so it knows go in here first, then you can look for library1.jpg. Then we're going to add some alt text because that's always good for accessibility. Of course, we want people who are using a screen reader to know what we're seeing here. So let's take a look at what this image describes or shows. It looks like it's just showing a kind of a library hallway. So I suppose we can just call that library hallway. Oops. And we'll add some dimensions to the image. We'll say it's 300 pixels. So that's what this 300 means. It's pixels. You know, there's a certain number of pixels that make up your computer screen. So we can set it based on that. Again, with CSS, we can make this all look a lot prettier too, but right now we'll go with this. So there's our first image. And if I did this all properly, it should pop right up there. It's kind of large, actually, now that I look at it in context. Maybe we want to make it a little bit smaller, and maybe we want to add another break there to give it some more space. Let's see what that looks like. So you can, yeah, it looks a little better. So you can tinker around with it until you find what you want. Actually, that might be too small now that I say that. And again, we're going to find better ways to do the width and height. Because pixels seems okay with this screen that we have now. But when you talk about resizing screens, now it doesn't look as good when you go to the full size. None of this looks as good. as it does here. And that's because we're using pixels rather than percentages, but we'll get more to that. Like I said, once we get to the design, more of those design elements. Right now, we're just looking at the basic design principles. So let's add one more image directly adjacent to that one. We'll add, again, images. We're going to add image 2, which is just kind of a big library atrium, I guess you could say. JPEG, alt, library atrium. Let's give that the same width and height dimensions. And notice that in here, I did a line on the right, I did a line break in order to help me organize better instead of having a really long segment down here. But I didn't add an actual break there. So what it's going to do is put it right next to that first one. Now I do want to add a break. I'm going to put 2 below this first one here. And we're going to, in fact, to save us some time, we can actually copy a lot of this since it's very similar and paste it. And we'll do 3, 4, we just switch this out. And then all we need to do is change the alt text. And we can do that. So that's a librarian patron interaction. And make these as descriptive as possible for our users who use screen readers. In library 4 image, so that's children's book section. Okay. And let's see how that turns out. Boom. So we have our kind of our little collage here. And like I said, it's all going to look a little bit nicer in the end, but what you have now is essentially a fully functioning website, and one that has a wide variety of elements, one that you could upload to a server and use now for a library. You have navigational panel, you have images in a collage format, you have an about, a mission statement, hours of operation. You have everything you need to have created your own really basic library website from scratch, and you just need to upload it to something like GoDaddy into their server, and you can have it up and going right now. But of course, we want it to look a little bit nicer than this if possible. So we are going to add more details as soon as we can finish up with some of these linking elements and such. I'm actually now going to switch us briefly over to our resources page. So we are done with this, and we're going to save it as HTML, and we're going to save the TXT file, and we are good to go there. And we're going to open instead our resources. And you probably noticed that I had already added this banner for all of our pages. And I actually added an image here, but I'm going to go ahead and delete it now. We're going to see how that works. We're going to have to pull this back up from here. Now we're going to start from the resources page. And we're going to click save as. Up here. Go to resources and say, now we have a new resources page, and we got rid of that. I'm thinking for this page, what we might want to add. Let's go ahead and start with a level 2 header. List of library resources. Let's take a look. I'm thinking we can add a bunch of links. to external pages right now, since, well, we don't really have a lot of internal pages, but if you were designing your own library website, depending on how many pages you had, you could list a bunch of resources internal to your site, or you could list links to external resources as well. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I'm going to keep one break to give it some space there, but then I'm going to start listing off some websites. So let's begin by, and of course, this should all be unique to your website and what types of resources you want to include. But let's say I want to include something about Emporia State University's website. And then I'm going to do the href equals https emporia.edu. I guess you could just actually put website URL, then people would really know what they're clicking on if you just put that and save it. Let's see what that looks like. So now we have Emporia State University's website. And even though I forgot to add the closing P here, it doesn't really matter because we didn't have any other content yet. So you have one paragraph organized together and it has that content. Maybe you want to add a colon. You could add a non-breaking space character, like we discussed a little earlier, and that'll space out the emporia.edu a bit, if you'd like to do that. And actually, this breaking space might be a little large, so maybe I want to get rid of that too. Let's see, that's actually spaced pretty well naturally. And all these elements have natural spacing built in. The breaking's really only if you need to create a break where there wouldn't be one, like if you want to create a break in between Emporia State and University for some reason, then you force it to break that way. But otherwise, the elements like paragraph and header should have breaks built in to make it look nice. So we can do that with other elements and just populate out our entire site that way. So I'll just add one more example here to just show that you just separate it out. Href, https, wichita.edu. I think that's their site. wichita.edu. And that. So that should give us Wichita State's as well. And there we go. And then you can click on this and it'll take you to Emporia State. It'll take you to Wichita State's address. You can add internal ones, of course, and move back and so forth. So what I'd like to see you do for this week, in addition to all these elements that I've shown here, the hyperlinks and the image collage, if you can go to the library resources and do like I did here, but add about 8 to 10 resources. And it's just going to be the same thing, but just link to, at least 8 to 10 resources that you think would be relevant to your imaginary, I guess, fantasy library that you're using for this project. So we can have a pretty extensive list here. And then next week, we're going to get into some of the design elements to really make this site look a little bit nicer and align things and that sort. So as always, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out, and happy coding.